This is Film Festival Hacks, the podcast with Film Fest insights from both sides of the badge. Alex Ferrari is the creator of IndieFilmHustle.com and a veteran filmmaker with more than 600 festival credits. Chris Holland from FilmFestivalSecrets.com has worked behind the scenes with more than 200 festivals and is the author of the filmmaking handbook, Film Festival Secrets. Together, they're pulling back the curtain on the film festival knowledge you need to succeed.
Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Film Festival Hacks with Alex Ferrari
and Chris Holland. And I just want to say we're saying the word guys in the unisex version of the term.
Obviously.
Sometimes I feel a little weird going, hey guys, go, you know what? There's some gals out there too.
Hey guys and gals.
Yeah, now we sound like a folk duo.
Exactly.
It's time for some banjo tunes.
So for all you independent filmmakers out there, welcome to this episode of the Film Festival Hacks. So this episode, we're going to talk about best practices when submitting through Withoutabox and FilmFreeway. And this is something that a lot of filmmakers have asked both me and Chris through our platforms about, like, what do I do? How do I really use it? What do I really need to put in there? What don't I? What's a waste of time? And so on. So, Chris, I would love to hear your take on what you should do for Withoutabox.
Well, I think we can talk generically about both of them because they're pretty similar, and you want to gather up your assets for both. You want to sort of look at what the requirements are in terms of what images they want. Really think about how your film is going to be presented in each platform. So they're going to ask you for key images. You want to make sure that those are usually, I would say, close-ups. You know, especially when you're talking about the key art for your film, it's kind of like the icon for your app in the iTunes App Store or the Google Play Store, whichever one you use. That image, that icon, can tell you a whole lot about that film, or should tell you a whole lot about your film in just that one image. So however many images they want, rack them up, make sure you've got them in the right resolutions, that they don't get stretched out or look pixelated. And then they're going to ask you for the basic information about the film. What's the title? How long is it? What category is it in? There has been some confusion with people as to, you know, what categories are. Is my film experimental? Is it, you know, if your film's an experimental short, you're going to know it. Experimentals generally don't have a whole lot of narrative thread, and they're pretty weird and out there.
Right.
You know, and if your film happens to be a short film with some music in it, that doesn't make it, you know, if it's a musical short film, that doesn't make it a music video. So get clear on your terms. There's an article on Film Festival Secrets you can search for that talks about all the different categories in Withoutabox. If you search for Withoutabox, that should pop right up. Anyway, make sure that you get the terms straight. Get all the technical details. You don't have to load up too hard on the technical details. But what you're effectively doing is making sure you have all the assets you need to sell your film to the programmer. And a synopsis is a big part of that. Alex, do you generally write the synopses for your own films, or do you try and find somebody to do it for you? I
generally write the synopsis for my own for my own stuff, since I'm a writer. And then I'll have other people look through it and make sure it's tight. I want to talk a little bit about when you're talking about all these elements for the film and selling your film. That's such an important concept, is you have to actually sell your film to the film festival programmer. And that is, like, you're basically selling a product. Your product is your film, and they are the client. And a lot of filmmakers don't understand that. They don't understand the marketing aspect of it. They don't understand that they have to present the project in a light to, like, really get them excited about it. So a poster, a trailer, key art, a great synopsis, a great log line, those kind of things are so important. And I'm going to argue that specifically the trailer is probably one of the trailer and the posters, like the old, you know, cliches. Give me a poster and a trailer and I can sell anything. Back in the days of the 50s, you know, those kind of Roger Corman movies. It's very true. Even to this day, you get a good trailer and a good poster, that's gonna get you past a bunch of hurdles to get them to watch your film, or, you know, go through the whole process, or get them excited about your project prior to them watching your film. So it's super important. And I'd argue, if you had one to really focus on, would be the trailer, because that trailer will travel much farther and wider than your movie ever will. More people will watch that trailer than they will watch your movie. Poster art is very important, but it does come second to a good movie trailer. Would you agree, Chris?
Yeah, we can separate this out into shorts and features, but let's talk about features primarily. I'm not even sure that a poster for an independent feature film is that important, especially not compared to a trailer. Because the trailer, the key art, the key still from the film is what's going to represent that film in most printed contexts, like program guides and stuff like that, and on the web. But the trailer, like, that's what conveys the emotional tone of your film, who's in it. Like, there's so much more that can be compressed down to that trailer than can ever make it into a poster, particularly if you're going, kind of an artsy route on your poster, even, films that don't really need selling, like Star Wars, those posters are, I guess all the ones all the way back into the 70s, like, those posters jam every commercial element they can get onto those posters, right? It's got spaceships. It's got a pretty girl. It's got, a swashbuckling dude with a gun. It's got a clean cut dude with a sword. It's got aliens and robots. Like, what you're getting when you see that poster. If you're not going to make a poster like that, make your trailer the equivalent of that. Like,
I would agree.
Tell people what they're going to get when they come. Don't be coy in your trailer.
Yeah, you're not. Like a lot of people like see these teaser posters for big studio releases, and they're like, "I'm gonna do a teaser poster with just like a hand." And I'm like, no. You could do it as a series if you like, just for fun and use it as social media marketing. But you really need, if you're going to do a poster, you really need to do one that sells your movie properly. We've gone off topic, not off topic, but a little bit off topic with marketing your movie. But it's super important,
right? This is all what you need to assemble to present your movie professionally, behind the scenes in Withoutabox or FilmFreeway, but also up front when they're trying to market the film to their audience. They need all these elements. And if you can show them from the get-go that you've put some thought into these things and you plan to be professional about your film career, regardless of whether you're, just getting started on the festival circuit or whatever, that's important. None of this is going to trump a bad film, but it can make the difference between somebody choosing your good film over choosing somebody else's good film who hasn't done this work.
Now, let me ask you a question, Chris. As far as the film festival submission process, how important is a website?
I would argue it's pretty damn important.
Okay.
When I'm watching a film for the first time and it's from somebody I don't know or even don't know anything about, one of the first things I'll do, especially in the home environment, which is where I'm usually watching these things, is I'll Google the name of the film and the director's name and see what pops up. Number one, that tells me, again, how seriously the filmmaker is taking this whole process. Because if they have a website for their film, that tells me right away, okay, they know that this is an essential part of what they're doing. If I only see like a Facebook page or a Twitter account or God help me, like a mention in a local newspaper that they're making the film, like if that's the only web presence you have, then, automatically you kind of go down in my estimation because you haven't done the work that's necessary to have a marketing platform for your film.
So you mean my MySpace page? Not so much?
Not so much. No.
I would also argue that that websites are super, 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 super important in the creation of the image of not only the film, but of the filmmaker. And I've seen so many filmmakers over the course of my career that just don't put any effort into the marketing of their movie or even the presentation of their movie. They're so caught up in the making of the movie, which is great, and you have to do that as well. But that's not the end of the game. The end of the game is when everything is done. You're sold the movie, you've made money, you've moved on to your next project. But you have to create an image. You have to create value to whoever's looking at that. So you have to figure out who you're selling to. Are you selling to film festival programmers? Are you selling to the general public, or so on? So don't just go out there and like throw together like some weak ass website, which I've seen the like, here's a copy of the trailer, here's this, and we throw a couple laurels up. Like, take some time, design it. I have a whole course on or explanation on how to put together a website for independent filmmakers on my website, because it's just so important. So that was one of my marketing tools to film festival programmers, is I'm like, here's the poster, here's the trailer, here's our website, and here's, quotes or whatever else I did to get them excited about it. But those three things, poster, trailer, and website, were massive, because you're right. People will Google you now. And if they don't see a personal website for the filmmaker and a website for the actual movie, that starts bringing your points down in the like, oh, how serious is this? How serious, how, if they don't take that much time and effort to present themselves, I can only imagine how little time they might present actually making their movie. So that might just be an assumption, but do you agree, Chris?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to make anybody panic by thinking that if they haven't built themselves a personal filmmaker website and this, that, and the other thing, that they're somehow, unworthy of this process.
No, of course not.
The truth is, the website communicates your seriousness, and it communicates actual information. Mm-hmm. And the actual information includes, where else is this played, right? If I'm watching a film and I see that it's, had a premiere at a festival I respect, well, that automatically, elevates that film in my estimation. Oh, blah, blah played this, so I should seriously consider playing this too.
Also, the other thing, Chris, is as well as a website actually shows one thing about the filmmaker that, again, and this is all kind of, presumptuous and kind of, I hate to talk about it, but this is the way human beings are. If you have a great looking trailer and a great looking poster, there's an assumption that you guys must know what you're doing. If you have a horrible trailer, a horrible poster, a horrible website, it says the same thing. So websites also convey not only the seriousness, but conveys something very interesting as well: taste. If you have a tasteful, well done, well produced website, it shows them like, well, the filmmaker, again, on a subconscious level, it says, well, at least they have taste and put together a tight website. There's a good chance that their movie is going to be put together well as well. That's just my opinion, though.
Sure. Let's go back to the subject of synopses for just a second. Mm-hmm. I feel like we, glossed over that a little bit. A synopsis needs to be well written. So obviously no grammatical or spelling errors, that kind of stuff. And it needs to, sort of give the tone and flavor of the film and introduce the characters, introduce the plot without giving too much away. A plot synopsis is not the same as a plot summary. And you need to know the difference. It needs to talk about, the emotions that are evoked by watching the film as much as it talks about the story. So that's what you want to include in your synopsis. It needs, again, to be a little bit of a marketing document, and not just here's what my story is from beginning to end. And that's what goes into your submissions. And if you have to, get somebody else to write it.
You can go to a Fiverr.com. You can go to a bunch of different places online, hire out a writer for very inexpensive to write, 100 words or 200 words or 300 words on your movie. It's something that can be done fairly inexpensively nowadays.
Yeah, I don't think you need more than about 150 words.
There you go.
For most things these days.
Yep.
And last but not least, I want to talk about cover letters. FilmFreeway, to my knowledge at this point, does not support individual cover letters for individual films or individual festivals, rather. They have a more blanket director's statement that goes along with the film. But the cover letters that Withoutabox asks for are individual to each festival. And I think it's worth taking at least a couple of minutes to draw out, why you're interested in each particular festival, and to outline what's different about your film that can't be said about every other film. Don't tell the festival that you don't have any money, because that's every filmmaker. Don't tell the festival that you worked really hard or that was labor of love, because that's every film. But do tell them that, you're the first film to be shot upside down in Philadelphia, right? Like, those are the kinds of things that, first, lasts, and onlys. This is the last film made by, this, or made about this blind pianist before he died, whatever it is. Those are the kinds of things that get attention.
Perfect. Well, I hope you guys got a little bit of info on this episode as well, about because I learned a lot, actually, because I've done a ton of these as well, but it's always good to hear somebody else's point of view on how to submit to Withoutabox, and I picked up a couple tips myself. So thank you, Chris.
My pleasure. You want me to tell people about what they're going to hear in the next episode? So go ahead. Yeah, next episode we're going to talk about the importance of being funny, both in your film and during the festival process. Yes, you should definitely be funny through the whole process, and humor is a big part of the filmmaking process, because God knows you cry a heck of a lot. So we'll see you guys in the next episode.
That's it for another episode of Film Festival Hacks. To learn more about guiding your film to success on the festival circuit, visit filmfestivalhacks.com.